flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think any of these are working.
Try it again. Try now.
There we go. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. First document I have submitted to you, you should have all received a copy. It is a certification from the Plan Commission in regards to a rezoning. It is for a parcel, which is, it's actually several parcels for a property commonly known as, I believe it's 313 Bell Street in Madeiraville. It's for the APC had a rezoning hearing on Monday, the 28th of March, and they had a unanimously 9 recommendation to present to you for rezoning. It is 1.459 acres approximately, presently zoned R2. The request was for rezoning to C2 suburban commercial, which C2 is generally what most of the commercial properties owned there on the northeast and southern side of 421 are.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the Unification Development Ordinance zoning map of Pulaski County presented, hereby to amend favorably the recommendation by PCAC.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning for 313 North Bell, Madeiraville.
God. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Secondly, I have another document, a certification from Plan Commission. There was a special hearing on March 16th that we had for the Plan Commission, recommendations submitted by commissioners in regards to text amendments to the ordinance, and a regularly scheduled public meeting also then on March 28th. Some potential requested adjustments to what was submitted to the board was discussed. At that time, a hearing was scheduled for April 1st, this past Friday, which the Plan Commission had accepted the recommendations that were brought to them with the exception of some of the items that were submitted to you. One in section 4.1 and then 6 in section 7. And so the recommendation was submitted 7. There were 8 present and 1 had abstained. So 7 had accepted the recommendation as shown on the document that was submitted to you.
At this point in time, we have to table this because of the 48-hour advertising and move to another special meeting at some point. I would make that motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to table
Not really tabling it. You can't really take it into consideration. Set it for consideration at a later date after you can get proper notice.
I'll make a motion to table it until proper notice is given to you.
Okay, any other discussion? Basically, this will be decided at a special meeting. It is scheduled. 48-hour notice. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Anything?
When were you planning on doing it?
We talked about Friday morning at 8:30. Yep.
Motion for that. I'll make a motion to have the special hearing 8:30 Friday.
April 8th.
April 8th.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anything else, Carla?
No, sir. Thank you very much.
Nathan?
Good evening, everybody. First on my list, you should have my report in front of you. I got a couple of updates on the Justice Center construction project. First is change order 012, which is the combination of change order requests 20 and 21 for a cumulative amount of $73.14. I've already authorized these after getting emailed approval from Maurice, but I wanted to bring them to the table so that you'd be reminded and the public can know what's going on. Number 20 was just under $1,200, and that was just to update some of the circuitry in 2 rooms in the circuit court's office to accommodate appliances that are going to be installed. The layout of the jury room necessitated moving the refrigerator to a different corner than when it had planned initially, and then we needed to accommodate a dishwasher in the circuit court break room to be used for dishes after they have jury trials. And then the other one, number 21, was just under $2,500, and that was adjustments for some sprinkler heads. As I explained in the email to you all, I went through a pretty heated conversation via email with the architects and the contractors on this one because at first blush, it looked like another one of those nickel and dime architect errors. Once Pun and Blank helped me to understand the situation a little bit, it was clear that a little bit of it was the architect's error, but mostly it was a combination of installing a necessary door on the second floor for security purposes when inmates are transferred. That just cut off sprinkler protection to part of the hallway. So we had to account for that. And then the other one, when they knocked some walls and ceilings out, they realized that the way the existing was laid out, in order to tie in properly, they'd have to move it. So I wanted to get Chuck's signature on it, but those have both been authorized and they are underway. Progress on the project. Since I last reported to you, they have completed all of the roofing except for the metal work with fascia and soffit. They've completed the main entry limestone installation, first floor ceiling grid installation, stairwell work, first floor window installation, and second floor drywall installation. Currently underway, they have first floor ceiling tile installation, first floor ceiling mounted equipment like sprinkler sensors, HVAC resistors installed, bathroom tiling, drywall finishing, priming, and painting, second floor window completion, EIFS siding installation, sprinkler system installation and testing, and the rest of the limestone installation. Expect exterior masonry to be completed before Easter, other than washing and caulking. Roofing metal work, as I mentioned, is forthcoming, along with sidewalk pouring and millwork and doors and hardware at the end of April. We've lined up all the appliances, and I'll be continuing to work with Judge Welker and Prosecutor Gomer on the furniture issue as soon as they sign off on the furniture plans that Sarah Mar Schwarzkopf from Luminat Roland has supplied to us. Any questions on the Justice Center project? Don't have too much to report on the courthouse project. I had previously told you that Matt Ireton was submitting some draft drawings to me that we would then disseminate to the various stakeholders. I had some concerns that he needed to make adjustments on before we were ready to distribute them, but a lot of the questions in the home stretch on the Justice Center have sidetracked him on the courthouse, as well as welcoming a new child into the world. So I'm hoping once he's back in the office after taking a few days off with the new baby, he'll be able to get back on that. I am, however, quite happy to let you know that NDOT has removed the no parking sign on our side of US 35. And so whether we want maintenance to do it or want to ask the town to do it, we can paint in 5 parallel parking sign spots along our east sidewalk, east of the courthouse. Not a lot, but it's a few more parking
Right.
spots. So that's all I have on the courthouse, unless you have any questions.
And it's my understanding that Gary is getting some bids for the west lot, so.
Oh, for the parking, great. Lastly, a couple of quick IMT updates. We haven't had a new reported COVID case since the 19th of March. Our cumulative count is 3067, up only 17 since I reported a month ago. We have had 1 additional COVID death since my last report. Hoosiers 12 and older who have weakened immune systems and individuals age 50 or older who have received a booster at least 4 months ago are eligible for a second booster now that the FDA and CDC have authorized this. Boosters for other persons are expected to be approved later this year, and vaccines for children under the age of 5 are also expected. Health Department is only carrying the Pfizer vaccine for ages 5 and up. Individuals need to call the office to set up an appointment at this point, call their healthcare provider, or contact a chain pharmacy like CVS. The IMT meets at the EMA office tomorrow, 8:30, and then won't likely convene again until June. That's all I have for you.
On these change orders, we need to know, both, basically did that over internet. didn't we?
Because they're under the threshold.
Any question for Nathan? Okay. Gary?
Well, good evening. I am here today, or tonight. You can kind of see the ceiling problem. We come in about 3 gallons of water this morning in this room. And I believe it's time that we possibly look into advertising to redo the whole roof on this part of the county highways building. It was built in 1980. So that's about 42 years old. I do know it's been before my time. They put like a rubber coating over the old existing roof that's up there. And we have some leaks over on the other side of this building. I know for sure that it was bought by the county highway, along with the county highway bought it, and I believe it's got the commissioner's name on it. So it would be coming out of the county highway's budget. So I'm open for suggestions, but we got a 5-gallon bucket of tar today, and we tried to get the patches that we think it might be leaking, but I think it's time to look for if we can find anybody to get us a bid, and if we can get materials. I'm open for suggestions, but it's time. I mean, you walk up on the roof, you can see that the slices in the ribs. Dave was up there with me, and it's soaking in, and it's getting between the rubber coating that's up there and it's on the metal. So I think it's time that we keep our building nice.
Once it gets on the metal, it can roll anywhere. You don't know where it's coming from.
We don't know where the next spot will start dripping at.
Is your plan to get some quotes?
Yes, I would have to advertise it and get some specs I wanted to work with Larry, maintenance director too, on this, on what all we need to have, and then get it advertised and then open up the bids at, as long as they have a long enough notice, 2-week notice in the paper, I believe, to, I mean, it's gonna be a costly project.
Yep.
Probably, the other thing would be the 2x4s. If there's some of them that are damaged, they're gonna have some structural work underneath the roof, that they're gonna have to work on also. we won't know until till we get bids. Hopefully we get some bids to get it done, but it's 92 by 122 is the dimensions of just this building here.
Is it just this building that's leaking or all?
Yes, yeah,
Well, could they go up and look at those two buildings that are leaking the recycle and let them bid all of them together? Or maybe separate them, budget? Contractor.
Probably a different type of roof, and it would be,
Funding would be different.
yeah, this one here is gonna be basically taken off
Yeah.
and put on a new roof.
this one, like that.
It's gonna be expensive.
In order to do what, saying, Mike, we would have to advertise the same as Gary. Same.
So I'm just wanted to bring it in front of a meeting because we need to progress forward because you don't know when you can get the materials and when they can get it done, if they can get it done. I'm hoping so.
Well, I think we have our blessings on that, so.
We obviously, be nice to get it done before fall.
Yeah,
And
if we can get the materials, I hope, but I
I'm
just
sure
wanted
somebody can.
to get the approval to move forward on getting a new roof on the top.
Good deal.
So, and I do have 3 different companies coming to meet with me on this week to look at the parking lot.
Excellent.
So,
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, we're down to other business, that is approving, signing the claims, payroll number 7.
Okay, I've looked at payroll number 7, and I've looked at the claims, and I make a motion to approve as presented.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You have the approval and signing of the March 1st regular session minutes.
Okay, I would make a motion to approve those minutes.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion on the minutes? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Then, have the opioid settlement. Refer to Kevin on this. Have, or to get some money, we have to get some paperwork signed and
Yeah.
put it in, so.
Yeah, I'd ask you to make a motion to sign this paperwork. It's been submitted to us by Cohen and Malad. Those are our attorneys for the opioid litigation. They're asking us now to resolve some issues they had with the settlement and it's enacted a new law. And they are now recommending we opt back into the state settlement. So we've got a resolution here to do that. A settlement participation form for 2 separate settlements. One is with called the Janssen settlement, and one is called the distributor settlement. The interesting part, I suppose, is that one is with the McKesson Corporation, Cardinal Health, and Amerisource Bergen Corp. Combined. That will pay county $387,751.20 over an 18-year period. The other settlement was with Johnson & Johnson. That will pay the county $90,927.29 over an 11-year period. About 15% of that's going to be unrestricted. 85 is going to be designated for certain programs or ways to reduce opioid dependency. So that's we'll sign that agreement and then that's it. Questions about it? The attorney fees for Cohen and Malad originally were a third of our what we settled for. That got reduced by the federal court and by agreement to 8.7%.
And that is going to get taken out of any portion of the settlement that we had prior to us receiving it. So you want to account for it.
So the 387,000 that we get back from the one company is going to be reduced by 33,000 then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd make a motion to, sign the paperwork for the two settlements.
I would second that motion.
I think another point, Kevin, is that, we compare our county to other counties based on number of pharmacies you have in the county.
That was one factor. It's a number of factors.
Right.
Number of residents, actually treat each county or each entity separately as a settlement. I couldn't begin to tell you all of the factors that went into it, but I know one of the factors early on is that we had to be dismissed away from part of the case. For example, we don't have a Walgreens or a Walmart in our county. We argued that we have lots of people that get their prescriptions filled at those pharmacies, but federal court didn't agree with us. So we were removed from part of the case because of that.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Community comments?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jason Kuchme, and I'm an attorney. I represent Connie Ehrlich and a number of other property owners in the county. And they had asked me to
It just doesn't.
Okay, much better, thank you. I just wanted to touch briefly tonight on the proposed UDO changes that are currently being considered by the county. I'm not going to go into the specific changes. I'll obviously save that for when that's before you. But there was a couple of points I did want to touch on in advance. And the first one just relates to some of the procedural defects in the process to date. So I do want to just state my objection to any consideration of the changes at the upcoming, I think you said on the Friday, April 8th. And frankly, because of these defects, I do believe that if the commissioners did proceed with a vote, that the changes ultimately approved would be void. Indiana Code 36-7-4604 establishes the notice standards that govern any change to an ordinance. There's several requirements in that statute. They're very specific. Among those requirements, there's a mandate that the published notice, the one that goes in the newspaper, has to provide a summary of the subject matter, and that notice has to describe any new or changed provisions. Here, the notice that was published for the Plan Commission meeting, literally it did nothing more than state changes were being made to certain chapters, those changes were being considered. There was no summary, there was no description of a single proposed change. No notice was given to the general public in that regard whatsoever. So frankly, I don't think a single person reading that notice would even have a clue regarding the nature of even one of the proposed changes. And so while I do believe that notice deficiency by itself would be sufficient to invalidate any subsequent changes to the UDO, I would say the manner in which those changes themselves were provided to the requesting public would exacerbate the issue even more. Connie Ehrlich, one of my clients, she had early on requested a copy of the changes that were being made, the proposed changes, rather than being provided a list of those changes. She was literally just given, a copy of the UDO as amended. There was no red line, there was no highlight. no indication what was new, what was old, what changes were being considered. I mean, she literally she had to take a copy of the new proposed ordinance, the old ordinance, sit there and compare them line by line, hopefully, not to miss anything. And I would just say that coupled with the published notice issues would operate as a denial of my clients and other residents' due process rights, which would also serve to invalidate any ultimate change that was approved. And then also, as you did note preliminarily this evening, the Plan Commission first addressed those proposed changes at the special meeting on March 16. In addition to the notice issues we've already discussed, at that meeting, there was no vote. Instead, the Plan Commission decided they were going to table the matter for a month to an unspecified date. The next regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting was 12 days later on March 28. And my clients were told at that time that the solar ordinance changes were not going to be addressed at that meeting. There was no published notice indicating they were going to be addressed. And despite that, those proposed changes actually wound up taking up the lion's share of the meeting. At the end of that meeting, the Plan Commission said they were going to vote at another meeting, which was last Friday on April 1st. Again, there was no notice issued for that meeting. The agenda for that meeting was not posted 48 hours beforehand. So, I mean, just ultimately, the Plan Commission's failure of notice, the failure to comply with the open door laws, the due process violations, I think all of that would serve to invalidate any approved changes. And then aside from those procedural flaws, many of the residents in the county, they want to know, why make any changes at all? They want to know who's behind these changes. The UDO should serve to protect the county, the residents, the environment. I mean, it should have concrete and uniform standards, standards to which the developer should be held accountable. The current UDO, it's not ideal, but it does meet most of those goals. The proposed changes we submit do not. They would either blur or eliminate the development standards altogether, remove any transparency, and they seemingly are completely unnecessary. I know it was stated, I think in one of the prior commissioner meetings, the changes are desired because the current ordinance has resulted in significant litigation expense. I would suggest it wasn't the ordinance language itself that resulted in any expense, as opposed to the failure to follow the ordinance. And frankly, I mean, that's not going to change with any revisions, but what will change is the lack of standards, the lack of protection for the residents, and frankly, for the county itself. And that's something the solar companies, they will take advantage of that. And it's something I believe that the county will likely regret down the road. And so the questions, are, who's behind this? Why make those changes? Obviously, the existing ordinance was not a barrier to the entry of solar within the county. Multiple applications were filed. They were approved. Commissioner Mellon, I think you had indicated in a previous meeting that Barnes and Thornburg was the company that drafted the changes. I believe the county attorney stated that the county did not hire Barnes and Thornburg to do so. So who's behind this? And that's a big question that my clients are asking and would like to know that, who are behind these changes. So in conclusion, again, my clients would submit that no changes are needed. But if you do move forward, we do believe the changes will be invalidated. So if you're going to do this, we would just ask that you do it right, and please follow the proper procedures that are in place. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.